I've been meaning to make this podcast for a while now, and I'm thrilled it is finally coming to fruition. Today we try to solve the eternal problem, the never-ending dilemma, the issue which gives you sleepless nights. We try to answer an extremely crucial and controversial question. What's more important, grammar or vocab? Hi, it's Kasia speaking to you, and in this podcast I will lead you through the aspects of learning grammar and vocab, show the importance, and I try to prove it to you that, spoiler alert, one cannot exist without the other. Let's start with the things students tend to question, and I show it to you from my teaching experience. When it comes to vocabulary, at the beginning of the adventure with English, students are willing to learn everything. Why so? Because words they are learning are the basic ones. They are words which everyone needs to form a sentence with and to start expressing the basic, everyday ideas or needs. Hence, the students see the relevance of learning them. Same with grammar. They don't feel they use any rocket science grammar yet. Why so? Because up to level A2, they usually learn the basic concepts such as present simple, past simple, or going to, when it comes to learning English, of course. However, similar concepts may be taught when you learn a different language, and similar doubts may appear during every process of learning any language. So, here we have the first proof that both grammar and vocab matter. Even when you create your first and basic sentences, you need grammar. You're not able to form basic sentences without syntax, even if you're not aware of it yet. And usually, the students actually find these basic structures and sentences useful in everyday situations, such as ordering food at the restaurant or getting around the town in a new country. Moreover, they are super excited and proud of themselves since they are able to utter full sentences in a foreign language, ask questions and respond to them. They are noticing they are able to understand more and more. It's a new activity, it's a new hobby which shows tangible effects. Since it's a recently taken up activity, the motivation and enthusiasm are bigger, the spirit is higher, so questioning anything is usually out of the question at this point. But then, higher levels come up and you may start noticing a dominance of one skill over the other. For instance, your vocab and reading skills are stronger than listening and grammar. And such a feeling may lead to doubts and questioning the relevance of some concepts. When B1 level comes up, such things happen. Students working at level B1 or B1 plus have already built the fundamentals to express basic needs and have, or at least should have, a good command of expressions needed in survival situations. They have a command of what I like to call survival English. So, when it comes to the English language, they are able to express, for instance, their opinions, needs, recommendations, daily routines, plans for the future, preferences, the basic and elementary vocab on interest or hobbies or health, entertainment, appearance, food, nature is usually mastered. What about grammar? They already know, or at least should know, two present and future tenses and a past tense, some modals, and maybe zero and first conditional. If they don't use these concepts freely yet, at least they should ring a bell. And mastering B1 or B1 plus involves learning synonyms to words they already know. More phrasal verb appear, they come across more formal vocab and expressions, and it is perfect if they are also provided with some idiomatic expressions by the teacher or the course book. And at this point, I would say, there is not so much of questioning the vocab, but maybe a bit of a struggle appears. Because from today on, they will try to use provide instead of well-known give, or delighted instead of well-known happy. But when it comes to grammar and learning more present, future and past structures and other grammar points such as conditionals, verb forms, more modals or passive voice, the questioning begins. The comments I quite often hear are, do they really use it? Do they really need all of them? I heard they just need and use 3 tenses and that's it. Oh really? You heard it somewhere? Please show me a person who said that or who uses just 3 tenses and is sufficient to easily communicate. I'd like to talk with that person. And you, by the way, may try using just 3 of them in your mother tongue or eliminate 2/3 of your grammar structures from your mother tongue and try to express freely anything you want. I don't want to sound rude here, but my point is everything is important and people who contradict it may not be fully aware of the structures they use every day. And it is totally natural as native speakers. We do not tend to think about the structures we're using. We do it automatically, unless you are a language nerd and you analyze everything you say. Anyway, quite often we do not have the knowledge on grammar of our native language, and through learning a foreign one, we may discover some grammar aspects we have never thought about before. Also, students of foreign languages have more profound knowledge on grammar than average native speakers, and they are able to explain some grammar points which natives are not able to, unless they are teachers or language nerds again. So next time, if you hear something like, they just use 3 tenses, use your common sense and don't be so gullible, don't be so naive. Look, there's a difference whether I am in New York City, I am going to fly there one day, or I'm actually flying there now, or on Friday, or I have been there, or I was there 5 times, or I might have gone there. If something exists in the language, it means it is important and people use it. If we didn't need it, and it didn't serve its purpose any longer, we would naturally get rid of it. Remember, language serves people. It's like with slang and neologisms. Such expressions and slang terms are coined because we, as users, need them. And when it's not in fashion anymore, we gradually stop using them. Then they become more and more old-fashioned to one day become totally obsolete. Coming back to the importance of grammar. English, which is abundant in tenses, may vary a bit in different regions. For example, British people go for present perfect more often than Americans, which tend to use past simple in some contexts of British situations in present perfect. But it doesn't mean you don't have to know the present perfect tense to be communicative, because it is used by Americans as well, and of course around the world. And sometimes you change the context drastically, whether you use present perfect or past simple. For example, you may imply somebody is dead if you use past simple, not present perfect. And if you don't use it yourself, you never know who you will be speaking with, or what you will be watching, and what structure will be used there. So to all students at B1 or B1 plus level, take everything that the language gives you. Of course, in survival situations, basic knowledge is sufficient and vocab wins over grammar. But if you want to sound natural, be communicative and understood, you have to learn both. And not only will the knowledge of both let you be communicative, but it will also help you in listening and reading comprehension. So watching series, listening to news and podcasts, reading papers will become more and more accessible to you and more understandable. And you're gonna build a very solid base for B2 level. So, B2 students, how is it going with the flood of phrasal verbs, fancy adjectives and verbs, idiomatic expressions, formal and official expressions? Do you feel welcomed by wish structure, mixed conditionals, and all the possible passive structures? Or inversion? How often do you question it? Or how often do you doubt you will ever use it? You already are communicative, so why should you bother? I understand your struggle. You already can express all your ideas freely in simpler language. And the struggle is usually about using all of the structures and new, more advanced words in a correct context, and use them effortlessly. When it comes to listening and reading comprehension, it's not usually that hard nut to crack. But I guess your ambition is to be fluent or even proficient. Or some examination is getting closer and closer, so then you keep persistent. And please do. Having a solid and strong B2 demands effort, but it is worth it. And it will pay off one day. So please study all the phrasals, study all the fancy words and sophisticated adjectives and other vocab, and plenty of idiomatic expressions and all the crazy grammar structures, which you could probably do without. Once you achieve the level and have B2 skill, the world of watching series and reading papers and understanding podcasts, understanding it with ease, welcomes you with open arms. And after that, maybe fancy level C1. So, from my teaching experience, B1 and C1 students tend to question the importance of anything the most. What I have observed among students willing to achieve C1 is that they don't believe they need the things I want to teach them. They already have a strong B2 level. They are able to survive and manage in any possible situation in English. They do not feel any barriers and freely communicate in the English environment. They have perfect reading and listening comprehension skills, and even if they come across a new expression, they're able to figure out the meaning from the context. When they try to go for more advanced and formal structures, either in speaking or writing, or they try to use more sophisticated vocab, they must put a lot of effort into it. And why so, you may ask? Because their brains already know the easier equivalents which have let them survive and communicate. So why should they bother? Why should they waste energy on more advanced words and structures? And at this level, we deal with very advanced structures and sophisticated vocab, which will allow you to read novels without looking the words up every line you read. And in natives probably will not surprise you with some everyday expressions. And very often the vocab is so advanced that they might not have a one-to-one equivalent in their mother tongue, so they must feel the word. It's like, let's say that the adjective is a mixture of feelings and emotions, and you must feel it. You cannot learn it just having the translation in your language. And you may notice the words make you sound very eloquent, maybe formal, or even uptight at times. Even more eloquent and more formal than you are in your mother tongue. So yeah, words like that are waiting for you at C1 level. But on the other hand, you probably also use slang and colloquial terms on everyday basis, speaking your mother tongue. So working at this level of English also gives you the opportunity of using such language. What does grammar have in store at this level? Concepts like the subjunctive mood, inverted structures, or emphasis, so very formal ones. So if you want to achieve C1 or C2, and you sometimes question the importance of what you're learning, remind yourself why you're doing it. If you don't have the ambition or need to achieve such high levels, you don't want to be eloquent or proficient, but just communicative, foster this B2 level that you already have. Cultivate the skill that you already have. Focus on keeping the level. But if you want to acquire the knowledge at C1 or C2 level, take everything that the language gives you at this point. If you keep questioning the importance, you will get discouraged and demotivated, and you might never learn it. So, as you can clearly observe, I'm trying to make you aware of the relevance of both. Of course, learn useful stuff which matches your level. Don't go for medical or law terminology if you're never gonna use it. Or don't go for inverted structures and mixed conditionals if you haven't mastered the intermediate level yet. When something appears in the course book matching your level and you feel you are ready to learn it, meaning your skill allows you to learn it and to learn something new, or your teacher says it is important and one day you'll need it, trust them. As I mentioned earlier, even if you don't feel like using the vocab or grammar, you never know what you'll come across on TV, radio, the internet, or what range of vocab the person you'll speak with will be using. So not only do you need it for expressing your ideas, but also for understanding others. When you stop doubting the importance of something, but you still feel a struggle using it, remember, you don't need to be 100% correct and master the new grammar concept or vocabulary set once they are introduced to you. Give yourself some time. With time and effort, it becomes easier and easier. And talking about correctness, when you have to choose between being correct while using a specific grammar structure or being incorrect but still expressing your idea and communicate, go for the second option. As much as grammar is important, it is not so important when it comes to a successful communication. So this is something I mentioned before as well. You cannot speak without words, but you can speak without grammar and somehow get the message across. As long as somebody can understand you, you shouldn't focus so much on being correct. And even if you make mistakes, but the message is understood, who cares? People really don't care. So, in survival situations, but I am emphasizing, in survival situations, vocab wins over grammar. But, on the other hand, here comes more advanced language and correctness demanded at some exams, which some of you are either getting ready to or are considering taking in the future. Then you need to know grammar rules and have a wide range of vocab and, of course, use it in a correct way during such exams. So, as you can see, nothing is black or white. But if you've ever questioned the importance of either vocab or grammar, I hope you got rid of those doubts after having listened to the podcast. If you are still doubting the relevance, do an experiment and switch off grammar in your mother tongue for one day, or stop naming the objects you see or the activities you do, and you'll see how it works. I believe you'll not be satisfied with the results. Or another experiment that will show you that grammar matters and the sentence changes its meaning when different syntax is used or different grammar is used. So there's a difference between here you go and you go here. Or there is a huge difference between knowing your shit, your spelled Y-O-U-R, shit, and your shit, spelled Y-O-U''R-E, shit. Or another experiment, another example, how the position of a word can change the meaning. So we're gonna insert the word only in different places in the following sentence. So the sentence goes, she said she loves him. And now I can say, only she said she loves him, meaning that there is no other person that said it to him. She only said she loves him. So she only said that. There were just words. She maybe didn't show any other actions that would prove that she actually loved him. She said only she loves him. So the message that she had for him was that I am the only person that loves you and there is no other person that loves you. She said she only loves him. So she only loves him. Maybe she doesn't like him. And the last place where we can put only is she said she loves only him. So the message from her was that she never loved anyone but him. So I hope these examples will make you aware that, grammar really matters. And also what I can observe among my B1 or B2 students is that they use grammar intuitively and still correctly. So, even if they don't pay attention to grammar structures, for example, while speaking, they are still using it. And since I mentioned speaking, some students decide to go for a course with a textbook after conversation classes because they feel they're missing some knowledge on grammar, or they want to refresh some grammar points. Or sometimes we base our conversation on some grammar points. So, you see, nothing is black or white. And we must develop both skills. So, take the language as it is. Stay humble and patient, and remind yourself from time to time why you need it. I'll emphasize it at the very end again. Language wouldn't exist without grammar nor vocab. Grammar wouldn't exist without vocab and the other way around. We cannot get rid of one of those aspects. Every aspect appearing in the language is there for a reason, and all the aspects are inseparable. One cannot exist if the other doesn't. It was a pleasure to finally make this podcast. It was Kasia speaking to you. Till next time, bye-bye.